D1896 was developed and published by Arkhouse Telegnosis, who also created a remake of sorts for Castlevania II Simon's Quest called Castlevania The Seal of the Curse, as well as a survival horror title based on actual nightmares called Dark Dreams RHN. I honestly was not really a fan of either of those titles, but I went into D1896 with an open mind, and I hoped that I would like it more than the other games. So, how did it turn out? Well, let's dive in and find out. D1896 follows a newly undead woman named Alice on her journey to meet Dracula, Maria Vera Dracula to be exact. Along the way, she comes across a few familiar characters from old horror films, as well as literature like Igor and even the Cheshire Cat. The atmosphere of the game resembles old films, everything from the fact that it's completely in black and white, shows film noise, and even has transitions between checkpoint screens that look like parts of a film reel. Alice only has one means of attack, which is a sword that she seems to control with her mind, and this can be turned in multiple directions as it's being used. This is useful and absolutely necessary if the player wants to get anywhere in the game. Enemies and bosses have a large variety, and the visuals of the bosses are actually some of the highlights of the game. They look fantastic, and I honestly love the hell out of the art style. All of the hand-drawn sprites and backgrounds look wonderful. I really wish I could say the same about the gameplay. I have many gripes about the game. First is the combat. It feels like some of the slowest combat I've seen in a game in years. It takes what seems like an eternity just for Alice to attack with her sword, and trying to hit flying enemies by timing your attacks during jumps is just maddening to say the least. Alice can only take 2 hits in a row before dying, so she can be dispatched very quickly if the player isn't careful. And these 2 hits can happen in the blink of an eye because there are traps and enemies trying to end Alice's undead life as soon as possible. The good news is that if she takes a hit and then backs off for a few seconds, she will revert back to being able to take another hit. So it's like she heals a bit. I'm not really sure why the decision was made to make her die so quickly when the combat feels so sluggish. There are so many sections where the enemies just respawn infinitely while you're trying to fight a boss or a turret or dodge their projectiles and also dodge the enemies, and things can get really crowded. And it makes you wish that Alice could attack faster than someone after 26 shots of vodka. The game is also running at 30 frames per second, so this makes the game feel like it's not always working correctly. For instance, there are these circular bounce platforms that Alice has to use in order to pop up to higher areas or even move from one bounce platform to the next. The issue here is that you can be hammering the absolute hell out of the jump button when you're bouncing off of these, and a lot of the time you'll just fall right through them. In the later stages, where you have to make jump after jump and avoid trap after trap, falling through one of these and dying will piss you off to no end. I usually don't get frustrated easily with games. In fact, I absolutely love difficult games. But if they don't work correctly, then I have to say I'm not happy. So this made it really hard for me to give a shit about the Cheshire Cat's ball that he keeps losing and making me find. It just makes me want to pull a Joe Cooper on him.
I don't have your fucking ball!
The music in D1896 is absolutely wonderful. It's another highlight of the game for sure. The music is purely piano pieces, and they are great to say the least. They fit the mood and the tone of the game perfectly, and I have to say the music and the graphics work wonderfully together. So, do I recommend D1896? Well, to be honest, no. I just didn't have fun with this game. I love what it was attempting to do, and it could have been a wonderful game, but I just can't recommend it. Now, some of you out there might enjoy it, but I feel like it's just the design of the game was made to be frustrating and slow when it could have been faster paced and fun while retaining its challenge. Also, with the buggy platforming issues I was having, it just makes it difficult for me to be able to tell you all to check the game out. One thing though is that the game is pretty damn cheap at just $5 US on Steam, so if you want to see what you think about it, then you could do worse with $5 for sure.